new me. Not really, it's literally only been a day. But I thought, you know what, it's 2019 now, so might as well wrap up my favorite books of 2018. Heck yeah. Since 2019 was not the best reading year for me, I made sure the books that I did read were hopefully or probably books that I would love. Of course, I came across books that I didn't love that much, but these books that I have in today's video are some of my favorites from this year, and I highly recommend all of you guys pick up and read. So let's get into it. So all these books I loved almost equally, but I'm gonna be going down the list until number 1, which is my favorite book of the year. Okay, so the first book we're starting off for this list is The Exact Opposite of Okay by Laura Steven. This book, guys, was so freaking good. Not only did it take a serious subject and make it humorous, but also really powerful, but the writing was phenomenal, the characters were gripping, and the story itself is just wicked. So this book follows the story of Izzy. She's 18 years old, just starting her life, when all of a sudden, explicit photos of her and a very prominent politician's son get leaked by trolls. And that's when her whole entire life gets turned upside down. So people online start tearing her apart and she is gutted. Izzy, being Izzy, tries to laugh it off, but it proves to be quite hard when the whole entire world, or at least the internet world, which can seem like it's the whole entire world, is discussing her photos. And from that, she learns that the world treats teenage girls really crappily. It's the exact opposite of okay, and it's about how she figures out what to do, how to do it, and get back to her normal self, or a better version of herself. This book is so wonderful. It's the perfect comedic contemporary novel that everybody needs in their lives. I adored it. I hope you adore it too. Let's get on to the next book. The next book is called Shadowland by Meg Cabot. If you love Maureen Johnson's Shades of London series, or V.E. Schwab's City of Ghosts, or any ghost-like novels that are out there, you're going to love Shadowland. It is quirky, it is funny, it is saucy, and it's just dang good. I've never properly read a Meg Cabot book before, and once I got my hands on Shadowland, I now am a fan for life. So let me tell you a little bit about Shadowland. It follows the story of Suze, and she is a mediator, a liaison between the living and the dead. And there's an issue, and that issue is that the dead won't leave her alone until she helps them cross over. But then she has to move across the country to California, and when she moves into her new home, she has a roommate that she never expected named Jesse. He is a ghost and he will not leave her alone. She moves to California and she's expecting a new life in the best way that it can be after being uprooted from her home in New York. But things prove to not be so easy because when she goes to her new school, things get a little bit hectic. There's a ghost who has revenge on her mind and her target is Suze. And from there, you will have to find out what happens. Suze is one of the best characters I've ever read about because she is just so funny. She is so just like badass. Ugh, I just love her. I don't know what it is, but I just love her. I think it's because she reminds me of my roommate and best friend, Sam, and I think that has a lot to do with it, why I'm like, wow, this character is just so great, because she reminds me of one of my best friends, and I just love her so much, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the series has in store for me. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely go check out the series. It is an amazing one. It's kind of hard to find in stores. I had to go and order mine online just because it's quite an older series, but it is so worth the read once you get it in your hands. I wanted the paperback editions of it just because I love the covers, and I also have it as an ebook, so I'm a pretty big fan and I cannot wait to finish the series. It's just so freaking good. Now let's move on to numero 6, which is Trials of Apollo, The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan. Of course, I had to include his book in this wrap-up because, let me tell you, the Trials of Apollo series is by far my favorite Rick Riordan book series, which should say quite a lot because I've read pretty much all of them besides like the Pyramid ones. I have not read those, don't know if I ever will. But I do not want to spoil the plot of the third book for you guys, so I'm just going to tell you the summary of the first one, which is Trials of Apollo, The Lost Oracle. Just kidding, it's not The Lost Oracle, it's The Hidden Oracle. It's been a while since I read the first one. So if you're familiar with Rick Riordan's world or Greek mythology, you probably know about Apollo. He is the eccentric god who chases the sun across the sky. And he's also just an a-hole sometimes, but we love him for it, you know? So Trials of Apollo follows the story of Apollo making quite a big mistake in angering his father Zeus. So then Zeus decides to teach him a lesson and send him down to the mortal world as a mortal teenage boy named Lester. It makes him live amongst the humans and earn back his godly status. But things don't go quite as planned because all of a sudden dead emperors start rising up and causing lots of havoc, and it's about Apollo and his gang of friends going on these wicked awesome quests and saving the world. Now let's get on to number 5, which is The Lost Queen by Signe Pike. I am so sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. But guys, this book is epic. It's Outlander meets The Legend of Merlin. I mean, you can't get more epic than that. Especially for me, who is a huge fan of Outlander and Merlin. I mean, if Fiona, my dog, was a boy, her name would have been Merlin. Or Fergus. It was between those two. But anywho, guys, this book was so phenomenal. If you love a deep fantasy drenched world in the mysteries of our past, this is the book for you. This book follows the untold story of a lost 6th century queen of Scotland and her twin brother who helped inspire the legend of Merlin. And these twins go on a wild adventure to protect their homeland, find love, save themselves, and fight for the preservation of the old way. It is an amazing, amazing book with stunning visuals, and the storyline is just so flawlessly executed that I just sunk right into it and adored every single second. So if that sounds good to you, then I highly recommend it to you. On to number 4, which just so happens to be Voyager by Diana Gabaldon. Yes guys, I finally finished this book. Hallelujah. I was just having such an issue just finishing this book, just because the part that I was looking forward to getting to, which is a certain reunion scene between 2 certain characters, went by, and then I was like, okay, what's next? I mean, I'm interested, but I'm like, it's just going a little slow from there. But I finally ripped the band-aid off. I finished the book, and it was truly phenomenal. I don't know why I waited. I really wish I didn't, because let me tell you, Voyager is so phenomenal. Dragonfly and Amber, which is the second book in the Outlander series, kind of left me wanting more or less, because there was a lot in that book that did not need to be there. Unlike Outlander, which I was hooked on throughout the whole entire storyline. So when I went into Voyager, I was like really excited but also very hesitant, but let me tell you, once I finished it, totally worth it. Cannot wait to read the next book because there's another reunion scene in there that I'm looking forward to as well. I'm hyped. But yes, Voyager, I'm not gonna tell you what that contains, but I'm gonna tell you what Outlander's about. Outlander is about a woman named Claire Randall, and she lives in the 1940s, and she is a combat nurse. But after the war is done, her and her husband decide to go on a second honeymoon to the Scottish Highlands. And one day, she decides to go out on her own and explore some standing stones. And then when she touches one, she gets transported back in time to 1740. And there she has to navigate her way through a time that is not her own. She meets a very handsome Scotsman named Jamie Fraser. And her main goal is to get back to her time, but that was before love captured her and a series of events made her want to stay. It's an amazing book. It is my favorite book of all time, and I'm really happy that the third book was amazing as well. So guys, let's get on to number 3. And that book is The Shadowy Horses by Susanna Kearsley. I recently finished this book. It was the last book I read in 2019, and it was so freaking good. So this book follows a story about Verity Gray, and she's an archaeologist who pretty much goes to random fields and digs up remnants of the past. Super cool. So when a job arises in the Scottish borderlands, she goes and answers its call. But what are they digging up on that lonesome field in the middle of Scotland? Well, her boss is convinced that it's the 9th Roman Legion that seemingly disappeared into thin air very many years ago. And by many years ago, I mean like hundreds and hundreds of years, like not like 5 years ago. It's like really old. Like when Rome occupied Britain. I love that kind of history. But the thing is, there is no scientific proof that this is the last place that the Roman Legion was. The only proof they have is from a local boy who says that he's seen a Roman soldier wandering around in the field who guards the bodies of his forgotten and dead comrades. So here in the middle of the Scottish borderlands, Verity sets out to answer one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of our historic past. She may find love, and she finds a little bit more than what she bargained for. Susanna Kearsley writes like such atmospheric books. Like whenever I'm listening to them or reading them, because I love the audiobooks of them always, I just feel like I'm there, and it's just so picturesque. I feel like whenever she describes the ocean, I could taste the salt on my tongue, or whenever she describes the Scottish Highlands, I could feel like I'm walking amongst the rocks. It's just so gorgeous and beautiful, and I highly recommend that you read Susanna Kearsley's books if you're a fan of that kind of stuff. I love it so freaking much, and I hope you do too. Now on to number 2. The Novice by Taryn Mathrew. I read this book in September, and let me tell you, I've seen this book everywhere, all over the place. My roommates read them, my friends have read them, but I never read them until recently. And the first book is truly a wonderful read. Guys, this book is so phenomenal. It brings me back to the days of older YA, like, 2013, 14, 15. You just fall into the story, fall in love with the characters and in love with the world, and it was just such a joy to read. I cannot express that enough. I loved it so much I did not want it to end, but then I'm like, Sasha, why are you holding back? There is 2 more books in this world, plus a prequel. You're fine. But guys, this book was truly phenomenal. So this book follows the story of Fletcher, and he learns that he can summon demons. Super casual, guys. Me too. Me too. So my demons are my inner demons. Anyways, Fletcher learns that he can summon demons, and he gets sent off to a magical boarding school where he learns to hone his gift in order to fight in this war against the orcs that has been going on for very many years. And it's like Pokemon meets Lord of the Rings meets Harry Potter. It is just such an epic novel. I highly recommend everybody reads it, especially if you're in love with fantasy already or want to get more into it. It's a great introductory read into the fantasy realm, and I highly, highly recommend it. Okay guys, now we have come to numero uno, the last book on the list, which is my favorite book of the year. And what is this book? Well, let me tell you, it is City of Ghosts by V.E. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab. So this book follows the story of Cass, and she can see ghosts after drowning, dying, and then coming back to life. Her best friend just so happens to be a ghost as well. And her parents are paranormal writers who have been given the chance to host a show that takes them across the world to the most haunted locations on our blue planet. And the first stop on this adventure is Edinburgh, Scotland, where they're filming the first batch of episodes for their show. So Cass, her ghostly friend, her parents, and her cat, they pack up, go to Scotland to film the first batch of episodes. But the thing is, Scotland is a town teeming with ghosts. They're everywhere. A lot of them unhappy. But luckily, Cass meets a girl who just so happens to also share her gift and teaches her a lot of things about it, which is very important because there is an extra mean ghost making her way across Edinburgh and is taking a beeline straight towards Cass. So Cass needs to hone her ability just in time to save her life before it's taken from her once again and permanently this time. It's an amazing book, guys. Victoria Schwab also lives in Edinburgh, Scotland, so all the descriptions, all the places were just so accurate, and it just so happens that I learned a lot from this book. I never knew about this place called Mary King's Close, which is technically an underground section of the city that is only open for tours. Nobody lives down there, and it's where lots of people died from the plague. And I would have never gone on the Mary King's Close tour when I was in Scotland just a few weeks ago if I never read about it in City of Ghosts. And let me tell you, it's so worth it. And a lot of the other places that Cass went to on her adventures in Scotland, I went to as well, and it was really cool just seeing them brought to life on the page in a very familiar way. I love this book, and I hope you guys loved it as well. And if you have not read it, I highly recommend it. It is just so good, and knowing that a TV show is in the works as we speak makes it all that more exciting. Okay guys, so we have come to the end of my favorite books of 2018. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what are some of your favorite books of 2018 down below. I would love to know. Thank you all so much for such a magnificent year, but let me tell you, next year is gonna be way more epic. I have a lot of fun things planned for you guys, really cool things, and I cannot wait to share them with you very, very soon. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My username is @Sasha Alsberg. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time. Bye!